I can't see a world in which I would be bringing my wife and children back to the UK at this point.
So here we are again. After 6 years of telling the world that they wanted freedom, privacy, independence, and a completely different life away from the British royal family, Prince Harry and Meghan Markle are reportedly heading back to Britain. Not for a holiday, not simply for a quick royal visit. The reports say the Sussexes intend to relocate to Britain for an extended period, with their children, Archie and Lilibet, expected to begin school in the UK in September. They are reportedly looking at a private, non-royal residence outside London, while retaining their homes in California and Portugal. And that raises one enormous question. Why now? Because timing matters. For years, Harry and Meghan built their entire post-royal identity around getting away from Britain. They left royal duties. They moved to California. They signed entertainment deals. They gave interviews. They produced documentaries. Harry published his memoir. Meghan launched a lifestyle brand. They were going to build an empire. They were going to prove they didn't need the palace. They were going to make their own money. They were going to become bigger than the institution they walked away from. And now, they're going back. That doesn't exactly look like the victory lap they promised the world. Now, let's be fair about one thing. Netflix still has a relationship with Archwell Productions. In 2025, Netflix announced that the partnership had been extended into a multi-year first-look arrangement, and Netflix has publicly pointed to strong performance from some Sussex projects. So nobody should pretend every single thing they've done has been a financial disaster. But that's not the point. The point is that the Hollywood empire people expected from Harry and Meghan never became the unstoppable machine that many predicted. And even Vanity Fair reported earlier this year that the couple had fewer public-facing projects in 2026, with their Hollywood ambitions hitting a speed bump. That's where the return becomes interesting, because Hollywood is brutal. Hollywood doesn't care about your title forever. Hollywood cares about attention, ratings, box office, audience interest, repeatability, and whether people actually want to watch what you're producing. Royal titles can open doors. But once the novelty wears off, you have to deliver. And that's exactly where Harry and Meghan have had to fight to maintain momentum. Their biggest entertainment success was largely connected to their own story. Their Netflix documentary became a major event because everyone wanted to hear what they would say about the royal family. Harry's memoir became a massive publishing story because people wanted to know what was inside. But here's the problem. You can't spend your entire career looking backward. Eventually, the audience asks, what else have you got? That's the question that keeps coming back. And now, suddenly, Britain is back on the menu. Interesting. Very interesting. Because Britain is the one thing they never really managed to escape. The royal family is still the source of enormous international fascination. The titles are still attached to their names. The palace is still part of the story. Prince William is still part of the story. King Charles is still part of the story. And every time Harry and Meghan make a major move, the royal family somehow ends up back at the center of the conversation. That's why I don't buy the idea that this is simply about Harry suddenly becoming nostalgic for British weather and afternoon tea. Come on. We're talking about two people who spent years building a new life thousands of miles away. This isn't somebody deciding to move from one neighborhood to another. This is a complete reversal of direction. And the children starting school in Britain makes the move even more serious. That means routines, education, friends, homes, security, travel, family relationships. This isn't just Harry flying in for Invictus. This is potentially a new chapter. And here's where King Charles needs to be extremely careful. The reports are very clear that Harry and Meghan are not returning as working royals. They are expected to remain private individuals and non-working members of the royal family. Good. Keep it that way. Because the biggest mistake would be pretending that nothing happened. You cannot spend years publicly attacking an institution and then suddenly walk back through the front door expecting the institution to reorganize itself around you. That doesn't work. Harry and Meghan made their choice. They chose independence. They chose commercial opportunities. They chose California. They chose to tell their story on global television. They chose to publish. They chose to speak publicly about private family matters. They chose to step away. So if they're coming back, they should come back as exactly what they said they wanted to be. Private citizens. Not part-time royals. Not royal celebrities. Not unofficial representatives. Not people who appear whenever the cameras are useful and disappear whenever responsibility becomes inconvenient. Because we've already seen what happens when you try to mix royal status with commercial independence. The Queen's position after Megxit was clear. The couple could not simply operate with one foot inside the institution and one foot outside it. And that principle still matters. Now, let's talk about the money argument because this is where critics are going to have a field day. I am not going to sit here and tell you that Harry and Meghan are broke. There is no credible basis for making that claim. But there is also no question that the commercial landscape around them has changed. Their original Spotify arrangement ended. Netflix changed the structure of its relationship with Archwell Productions in 2025 from the broader arrangement to a first-look deal. That's not necessarily failure, but it is different from the image of an unstoppable Hollywood machine. And that's important, because the Sussex strategy depended heavily on the idea that they could walk away from royal life and build something commercially bigger. If that strategy had produced a gigantic entertainment empire, would Britain suddenly be this attractive again? Maybe. But the timing certainly invites questions, especially when the reports indicate that their UK move comes after years of tension, changing commercial fortunes, and a gradual thawing in Harry's relationship with his father. And then there's Meghan's lifestyle brand. As ever has certainly generated attention, and Netflix itself has described products as selling out quickly. But attention isn't the same thing as building a permanent global empire. The same applies to entertainment. One successful launch doesn't create a dynasty. You need consistency. You need longevity. You need audiences who come back. And that is exactly what the Sussexes are still trying to prove. Now, imagine the political pressure this creates for King Charles. If Harry and Meghan return quietly, live privately, raise their children, and stay away from royal business, fine. But the moment they start pushing for official roles again, the entire argument changes. Because then the palace has to answer a simple question. Why should the people who walked away from royal duties now receive royal opportunities again? And that is where Prince William enters the picture. William doesn't need another circus. He has spent years positioning himself around duty, stability, and continuity. Harry and Meghan represent something completely different. They represent unpredictability. They have demonstrated that when they feel unhappy, they are willing to speak publicly. That's not speculation. That's their record. They have used interviews, documentaries, books, and public statements to tell their side of the story. So imagine them being brought back into the official royal operation. One disagreement, one internal dispute, one disagreement over security, one disagreement over protocol, one disagreement over publicity. And suddenly, it's another international media storm. That's exactly what the monarchy doesn't need. If Harry wants to rebuild trust, then rebuild it privately. No cameras, no grand announcements, no demands, no conditions, no attempt to force William into reconciliation, and absolutely no attempt to turn a family reunion into another commercial opportunity. Because if Harry and Meghan really want to demonstrate that family matters more than fame, this is their chance. They don't need Netflix to film it. They don't need a documentary. They don't need a magazine exclusive. They don't need a podcast. They don't need a book. Just behave differently. That's it. And Meghan faces an even bigger challenge. She has repeatedly been associated with the American entertainment and lifestyle world. Now she's reportedly going back to Britain. But Britain isn't Hollywood. The British public isn't obligated to welcome anybody simply because they have a title. And the Sussexes should understand something very clearly. The British royal family isn't a celebrity franchise. It is an institution. You can't treat it like a television show where you leave after season 1, launch your own spin-off, criticize the original cast, and then return for season 7 when the ratings aren't what you expected. That's not how this works. So yes, Harry and Meghan can return. They're entitled to live in Britain. They're entitled to raise their children there. They're entitled to pursue their businesses. But they should leave the royal institution alone. Because if the Sussexes really have changed, they'll prove it through discipline, not through another publicity campaign. And if they haven't changed, Britain will find out very quickly. The cameras will be waiting. The headlines will be waiting. The palace will be watching. William will be watching. And most importantly, the public will be watching. Because after everything that has happened, Harry and Meghan don't get to demand trust. They have to earn it. And if this move really is about family, then let them prove it without turning the royal family into another business opportunity. The ball is in their court. They walked away from Britain. Now they're coming back. And the real question isn't whether Britain will take them back. The real question is whether Harry and Meghan have finally realized that leaving the royal family was easier than escaping its shadow.